Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves. So this is pretty crazy. This is actually the first time that we're doing this. This is Scott Groves. Some of you know me as a loan officer at Synergy One Lending. Some of you know me, the coach of Consolidated Coaching. Some of you, very few of you, because we don't have a ton of subscribers, know me from the On the Edge podcast, which is why, one, I've got the On the Edge hat on. And then also behind me is a green screen, because when we chop this up and we cut this up in post-production, there'll be a cool label or a logo back there for myhomeIQ. So if you want to subscribe on YouTube, it's I'll put the link for our On the Edge podcast in the chat box. By the way, if you're watching this, do me a favor. I have more Facebook friends than I have YouTube subscribers, so go subscribe on YouTube to the On the Edge podcast. But if you're watching the replay of this, that green screen behind me will have the myhomeIQ logo, and I'm really excited. We're going to do about a 45-minute interview or so with Sean and Alex. Sean and Alex are the founders of a company called myhomeIQ, and this is a product that I've been in love with in the mortgage and real estate space for about a year. I became a user. I switched over from one of their competitors over to myhomeIQ, and very simply, HomeIQ helps lenders and realtors create clients for life. Now, the way that they do it, we'll dig in and we'll talk about how we keep in touch with clients and their email blasts and their valuation of properties and all the cool shit that they're doing as a tech company. But they are a really lean startup that I'm proud to be a supporter of. And because I've become kind of a super user of their product, and I've put the word out there, just being a nice guy, and how great their product is, they approached me and they're like, hey man, we're about to go into a WeFunder crowdfunding round, and we'll talk about what all that means for a startup. Do you want to be an investor? And I said, yeah, I really believe in your product. I looked at some of their numbers. I looked at some of their growth. I looked at what some of the other tech companies in the mortgage space are selling and exiting for 5-10 years down the line. I'm like, yeah, this is an investment I really want to make. So in full transparency, as of today, I am an investor in myhomeIQ, so I'm not going to give you a totally unbiased opinion because I want the company to succeed, because I just gave them $25,000 and I don't even have my t-shirt yet, myhomeIQ t-shirt. Alex, when you were out getting tea, I told Sean, I was like, man, I need a t-shirt immediately so that I can at least say I gave somebody 25 grand and all I got was this $20 t-shirt. But I'm pumped up to hear about your guys' journey. I want to hear about HomeIQ. I want to hear what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, like what's been a misfire in the space of running a startup. For context, Alex has a deep background in the real estate industry, ran a super successful team. Sean is still a lender, much like myself, still doing 40, 50 hours a week doing home loans, and then focusing on his side hustle, another 40 or 50 hours a week, which I can relate to because I do mortgages full-time. And I'm like, you know what I should do? I should start 2 other full-time businesses doing podcasts and coaching business and whatnot. So welcome to the show, Alex and Sean. And you guys, you are the first ever live feed of the On the Edge podcast. So this should be interesting. Maybe we'll get into a little bit of trouble.
Love it.
So what did I miss in my 2-minute Reader's Digest intro of Sean and Alex and the company myhomeIQ? Maybe give us a little bit more of the origin story and the background.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. It's an honor. Me and Sean go back some time now. We started Sean, it's been over a decade, right? I mean, how long ago since we've met?
7 years, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a while back. When I was still running my real estate business, the real estate team. And so I think the origins with all this, we built our business primarily on online lead generation. That's been our whole niche. And at one point we'd be spending $200,000 a year on marketing, right? This is to generate online leads. And then a big part of that budget went to Zillow. And then Zillow started making a lot of changes to the way they would monetize their program. And so we then started looking into other alternatives, and we went out, to test every other company out there that was doing lead generation, generating buyer leads, seller leads. We did a 6-month campaign, and we signed up for every single online lead generation platform out there. We still have all the results in our Airtable. And what's interesting, every single one of them was copycatting. They were trying to replicate what the other company was doing, putting a little different lipstick onto it. And so the funny thing is we generated thousands of leads. And then 6 months later, we closed 0. And so we sat back and we're like, dude, this is insane. Like, all these companies are claiming that they're like the next hottest, biggest, thing, but zero results, like real results.
Right.
And so then that's kind of what sparked us into creating what was at that point called SOA Leads. We just wanted to create a new funnel that was focused on giving consumers what they wanted up front, was a lot of information. I think this is where Zillow really pride themselves, is that they removed barriers of the silos, right, that were created in the industry. And they said, look, homeowner, we'll give you all this information for free. And so that attracted millions and millions of homeowners, and why Zillow became what they are today. And so we wanted to do the same thing when it comes to lead generation. We wanted to give homeowners instant gratification, because we're living in that era and that time where people want information now, today. And so without having to speak to someone, every other lead gen out there is like, give me your name, your phone number, all this information, we'll give you something. And then they're waiting for a phone call. It's just a sales call.
Right.
We want to reverse engineer that. We went to data providers. We built a relationship with title companies, with big data companies, to be able to offer this like upfront to the homeowner, and say, hey, look, here's what you were looking for. Here's all this info. And then if you would like a little bit more information, I'm here to help you. And so that kind of eased or removed that silo, and gave us like that initial start with the product. And so that's how we started. We started with generating leads, and that's at this point now is just one of the funnels that we offer as part of myhomeIQ. Is like, you get this branded landing page that's high converting. And so anyways, and then what we realized shortly after that is, well, when you start generating a lot of leads, you now need a way to nurture those leads. And that's where homeIQ kind of was born out of that. We realized, well, now we need to find a way to stay in front of these homeowners, especially if you're generating seller leads. You need to have a way to do that. And so the homeIQ was born.
And I love that for a couple reasons. One, I love when businesses start by people who are in the space and they're just trying to solve their own problem, right? Everybody's trying to be the next, oh, I'm the Uber of this industry. And it's like, well, do you have any industry specific knowledge, or do you know the problem that you're actually trying to solve for yourself? So I love that. Number two, years ago, I was bored and I jumped on because I owned a couple shares. I jumped on the Zillow quarterly shareholder meeting or whatever. And they were super proud and they were pumping these numbers about how, oh, we sold 101 million leads this, I don't know if it was that quarter or that year or whatnot. And then I looked it up and it's like, oh, there's going to be 5 million real estate transactions in America this year. I think it was 2019 or something. I looked up these numbers. So for every closed transaction in America, Zillow is selling 20 leads to, 20 different people. So I'm like, dude, there has to be something better, because that means every closed homeowner or every closed buyer is hearing just from Zillow from at least 20 people. And then you throw in, Commissions Inc., which is now Sync, and Lead Pops, and all these other aggregators of data and leads. For every closed transaction, that lead is probably being sold 200, 300, or 400 times. So how do you stand out? And what I've loved and why I'm willing to be an investor and give you my hard-earned money from the last couple of years is because I think you guys are doing something special. So Sean, maybe you can talk a little bit about, okay, now you've got this problem that you need to solve. You're excited about the fact that you guys have found a new way to generate leads for yourself. How does that become a business, and how does that, move into the technology, which is now myhomeIQ?
Well, so that when we made that pivot, as Alex said, we realized there was a bigger problem, which was actually staying in front of those leads, but more importantly, staying in front of all the people that you've actually closed a transaction for. So your warm sphere of business, all those people that know, like you, and trust you. A lot of loan officers and realtors, when the deal closes, they're done. They right. Go off and they try to go to Zillow and all these other ones to buy more leads. And the dirty little secret, one of them in the lead industry, like you just alluded to, was one address or one person filling out a form that could turn into 20 or 100 different leads that get sold over and over again. For those people, just get hammered and they get exhausted. So we pivoted into myhomeIQ, which is our core product now, which allows, like you said in the beginning, loan officers and realtors to build clients for life from people that they've already done deals with, or people that have come through their funnels or through open house visits. And so we kind of went down that path and turned it into our core business model. And so I think we've had, a lot more success going down this path, because it starts off with the core of your current customers, the people that like you. And then if you want to use some of those other, legacy tools that we have that convert really, really well, people like yourself that are actually, putting out a lot of content on the internet and adding a lot of value, they can then aggregate more and more people to build their audience.
Yeah.
And so then, the loan officers can go off and build more audience with realtors as well.
I love it. And I'm probably going to get the stat wrong, but the National Association of Realtors, NAR, they do this big seminal study survey where they survey tens of thousands of homeowners every 5 years. And I think I'm going to get the numbers close enough to tell the story, but it's when they say to buyers, hey, you just closed on this transaction, how likely are you to use your realtor or your lender the next time you buy a house? The numbers are 90%. And then when they look back 5, 7, 10 years of realtors or lenders that that the client used, then they fast forward to them selling the house and buying a new house. It's something like 13 to 20% of homeowners actually use the same realtor and or the same lender on their next transaction, because we as an industry, lenders and realtors, have been dog shit at staying in front of our past clients and trying to create relationships for life. Because the loan funds and there's such a huge sigh of relief. It's sweet. What was that client's name again? And same with realtors, maybe they deliver the gift and they do a little housewarming party, they deliver the Cutco knives, and then that's it. They never follow up again. So maybe you can talk about what the core product is now, Alex, with homeIQ. What's the thing that you guys do that's going to help the realtor and the client create a client for life?
So that's a really good question here. But I wanted to kind of back up and mention a little bit about big tech. So I think what you brought up just now is that big tech has figured something out that us individual loan officers and real estate agents are still having a hard time to understand, and that is the market that's available for post transaction. We work extremely hard and spend a lot of our money, energy, and time to generate a lead, cultivate that client, close that transaction, but then that's it, it's done. And the big tech out there, there's Zillow, Quicken, you name it. You go down the list, all these big companies, they're offering a portal or something for consumers that will educate them, that will give them information that homeowners care about. And they don't care about you. They care about their home and anything that could impact their financial state of being. And so if you can educate them on what's going on with the housing market, when is the best time to refinance your home? Is your property good for an Airbnb? What if you pay a little more towards towards your payment? How much faster can you pay off your home? Just different ways on building wealth with your home. There was a study done for homeowners in America at retirement. 80% of their wealth comes from home ownership. Think about this. 80% of wealth for the average American is going to come through home ownership. Now, since that is so important, what are you doing as an agent or as a loan officer to stay in front of your client? That's not about you. That's about them. That can help them build that wealth, increase that equity in their home. And so other companies are out there doing this. And if you're looking at a last stat I pulled, it was probably a few months ago on Zillow, they said that it was 125 million homeowners had Zillow profiled. If you do the math, that's close to about 85% of households in America have a Zillow profile, which means, Zillow is already a mortgage company, or they're moving in that they got the mortgage license. Now they're real estate brokerage, right? So if you're not putting yourself in front of them, well, I can guarantee you someone else is.
Right.
And so they're now educating your past clients, even though you're not staying in front of them. That is why the percentage of repeat and referral business drops significantly, is because we don't have the technology stack as realtors, as loan officers, to compete with mega brands who spend, hundreds of millions of dollars and continue to do so every year on promoting their product and educating consumers. And that's where what we want to do with homeIQ. We want to aggregate all this data and provide them all that information in a monthly report that's branded to both the real estate agent and the loan officer who closed that transaction, because there's already a trust established between these parties. They trusted you to facilitate that loan or to help them find that property. And so there's already a trust established. Why not solidify that trust moving forward so that they can, the next time they're thinking about buying or selling or refinancing, or anyone brings up anything to do with home ownership, your name comes to mind. So how can you stay relevant and top of mind with homeowners? And that is by educating them. That's really what you can do, is empowering them to build their wealth. It's not about your brand. It's not about you. It's if you can take that mindset, like, hey, how can I help them build wealth with their home, and then educate them constantly of what's going on with the housing market, and best time to refinance their loan. And so just making yourself available. What you're doing is you're removing those silos of information, you're educating them, and now they'll come back to you. At least you're staying top of mind. And so what we do is we send out a monthly report via text message, via email, and based on our statistics, last we pulled was like, I think around 85% open rate on the email side. So it's incredible open rate, where the industry standard is around 2.8%. So if you're just using some sort of email marketing to stay in front of your past clients, man, like after a few months, you're spam, period.
Right.
So because you're not relevant, they don't really care. Our statistics are incredible because homeowners actually care about themselves, about their home, their equity, and that's why it's relevant. And we update the data every single month.
I love that, man. And I got to tell you, you mentioned within a couple months you go to spam if you're just sending out the same old stuff. I won't name any companies by name, but there's a few large big box real estate companies out there where I'm on several realtors mailing lists. And every time the time changes, it's like, hey, Scott, don't forget to change your clocks because the time is going back an hour. And I'm like, dude, I'm rich. I own an iPhone. All my stuff updates automatically. I don't need you to send me your bullshit email about like your clock is falling back because it's fall, or you should spring forward, or it's 4th of July. Here's your home apple pie recipe. It's like, dude, that's not adding any value. And conversely, I do have a couple of realtors who I'm on their mailing list. They send out great stuff like, hey, here's something that's locally relevant to where you own a house. Here's a great market update. Here's a take on one of my new listings. Like, that stuff's cool. But, I don't want to gloss over this. For a effectively unsolicited email that goes out to a consumer, even if they recognize my name because I did their loan, to have an 84% open rate, that is absurd. Like, if I send out just an email that I craft, which I put a lot of time and energy into, I'm stoked if I get like a 20% open rate, right? Because I have 5,000 past consumers. I got about 4,000 realtors. Every time I send it out, I get a couple tears because people who I thought were my friends unsubscribe. And it's like, oh, sweet, we hit over 20% open rate. We're crushing it in digital marketing. So for you guys to send out a once a month email to the homeowner that gets an 84% open rate, that means that you guys are delivering on the value of your promise of like, no, we're only providing stuff that homeowners want to see. And I really don't care anything else you guys do. When I heard that you guys have an 84% open rate on marketing emails, I'm like, yes, I will give you guys money. So can you talk a little bit about the secret sauce of nailing that open rate with consumers? Sean, maybe you have some insight into that?
Well, one of the things I wanted to address real quick, as you brought up, is, we're not trying to replace CRMs or, the pumpkin spice recipes that are going to come out.
No, please replace the pumpkin spice recipe. I can't get any more pumpkin spice latte recipes in my inbox.
Or anybody's CRM. We're not a CRM or anything like that. But this is kind of one of those things where, I've been doing this 22 years, like we talked about, and, tried tons of different systems. And it's really easy to bust out your credit card and pay for something and then not use it.
Facebook.
So one of the things that we really looked at, we're like, listen, if anything that's done for you, if it just happens, that's kind of where we're going to get the most success. So even if you did nothing with it, uploaded your database and let those emails go out and let your customers engage, you're going to see some kind of ROI. And we won't get into those numbers until later, but even if you did nothing else, you're going to see at least some kind of really good ROI because they are engaging in the reports. They're going to be seeing information on a monthly basis that's changing. And right now, some things are going a little flat to down. It is what it is. But once we get out of this, high rate environment, there's going to be another refinance wave. We all know it. And that's when this is really going to kick in too, because you're going to have this huge audience that you're building. And if you're doing it right, like, some of your coaching clients are, and acquiring other real estate agents and building that audience and continue to grow it, over time, you're going to see when we do have those dips, the thing is going to fire off. You're going to have all kinds of engagement with all the calls to action that we have in each one of the blocks, and your ROI is going to spike. I can't really get into the tech side. I'm not really a techie, so I don't know all the behind the scenes secret sauce of what's making it happen, but it works. And if you do the math, I mean, a loan officer, let's just call it an average. What's an average commission nationwide?
It's about $5,000.
So $5,000. So we're talking a product that's $150 to $200 a month. Let's just say it takes you a year to get a transaction out of it. And you can attribute that transaction to one of those reports that your client engaged in. I mean, you're already at over 100% ROI in 1 year. And then just imagine what it's going to do for your agent partners too. Like, you know what I mean? So
I think that's
anyway, it works.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into the big component of our product is how we work together to collaborate between both real estate agents and loan officers, and why we've been growing on the real estate for like realtors. We have over 5,000 realtors right now using our product, and so it's been very interesting when we made that pivot where we made our product free to realtors, and so a realtor can sign up and use our product. They get additional benefits when they're partnered with a loan officer, and so that incentivizes loan officers to create that relationship or spread the word of our product. And so realtors can choose who they want to partner with. They do get additional benefits, and then those benefits are because they're not a loan officer. They can't quote rates. They can't provide certain information to homeowners, and so just by inviting their preferred loan officer they work with, now there's an opportunity for them to work together and nurture clients together.
So here's a funny anecdotal story, and it goes to the point of like building that audience and whatnot. And I've got a buddy, Kevin, who used to be the COO of a CRM company that got absorbed. So he's taking a new position. And he used to say, look, man, we're going to screw up sometimes, right? We're going to send out the happy St. Patrick's Day email on Veterans Day because mistakes happen. Like, technology is great, but it's only as great as the humans running it, and humans make mistakes. And he had this great line that he said over and over again. He's like, my shitty marketing is better than your no marketing. And by no stretch of the imagination do I think myhomeIQ is shitty marketing, but just getting an email that gets opened 84% of the time. I talked to a realtor recently. I was like, hey, we're doing this thing. We can partner together. You can upload your database. It's not like I get full access to your database and I'm going to steal all your clients and send them to another realtor, which is what every realtor thinks, that they have some super secret sauce. And they're like, well, I don't know if I want to upload all my clients. And, I've done something like this before. And then a client called me to complain because their value was off because, the electronic evaluation system on the monthly email they get didn't really recognize that it was a duplex and it had a really special view of the whatever, I don't know, the Rose Bowl. And so, the client wasn't happy. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, and did it spur a conversation with a past client that you probably weren't going to check in with that month? Well, yeah, I mean, we had a conversation about their value and what their plan is and stuff. I'm like, great. So even when the system screwed up, you still had a quality conversation with a past client. And then, this realtor decided not to sign up and pair with us and upload their database, and that's fine, I guess. But sure enough, a week later, I get the worst form email spam from them, from their CRM, of like, 10 tips to make your garden beautiful, right? And it's like, well, we're in a massive drought in California and Nevada and Arizona. No one's doing shit on gardening. They're replacing their garden with rocks. So now, instead of this quality email you could have sent out to your database with property information and how to treat your biggest asset like an asset, I found out about like how to plant orchards, which I'm never going to do because it's just destroying the ecosystem trying to grow orchards in my front yard and eat up all the water that's left in, Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam. And so it's funny because you get pushback when you're a lender or when you're trying to like pitch some new value proposition. And I get it. I have shiny object syndrome. I love new stuff, but this is just so powerful to stay in front of clients. I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm almost sad for my realtors that don't want to move forward and participate because I'm like, dude, you're missing out. You're going to miss a transaction where in California, if the average, loan officer commission is $5,000, a starter home in Echo Park is now $1.2 million. Let's say a realtor nets 2.5% from that. One transaction is 30 grand. And I'm trying to give you this product for free to stay in touch with past clients. And you're like, well, I might have to take a phone call or two from a client whose valuation is a little bit off because the electronic systems aren't perfect. And I'm like, pulling my hair out. Why am I not selling this correctly to get everybody to sign up? So can you talk a little bit about the realtor lender partnership?
All right. So Juan, you brought up a really good point. And here's man, like I'm gonna bring you an example. And I think this example is gonna just drive this nail home. We have a small brokerage in California that signed up for our service, and they're actually one of our success stories. They I think now they have over 200 agents using this product, and all those 200 agents are tied to one loan officer. That loan officer went from 300 past closing clients that he was nurturing. I think now it's over 10,000, right? So now imagine having a database of 10,000 homeowners, and you're in front of those homeowners. Like, that's really the power behind this. But this was their success. So I reached out and I wanted to find out what they were doing, like what their agents were doing to actually really adopt this product. And the broker told me something that was so powerful. If every agent could just, if you could just take this part that I'm going to share with you, this is I think the golden nugget from our product. Like, this is how you truly succeed in this. It was so simple. He uploaded his his database into the system, and he figured, instead of going to an open house or spending time, hours, 2, 3, 4 hours a day prospecting, I'm going to prospect myhomeIQ. And so what he did is he pulled up every single address. So, just to let you guys know, our system within a few months will generate an automated home valuation. And we've partnered with the largest data providers out there to provide this information. So we'll get as close as accurate as possible. However, we can't take into account, if there's a house, a rural outside, suburbia, it's going to be hard because it needs comparables to pull home valuations. Well, what this guy did, he went individually and allocated 2 hours a day to pull up every single home, create a CMA report for that home. And even if our system was spot on, he would still change 5,000. He made sure that he made a change on every single report. And then, first of all, the moment he does that, our system fires off an email to the homeowner saying, hey, Scott Groves just updated the home value. And then he put together a CMA report, fired off an email to that homeowner saying, hey, Sue, I was going through your homeIQ report that I'm sending out, and I realized that the automated system did not take into account XYZ or was off just by a little bit. So I wanted to make sure that you're receiving the most up-to-date information. If you were thinking about selling your home, here's how much you could actually get for your home in today's market. He attached the CMA to that email. He attached the link to the report. And he said, Alex, 95% of my customers responded. Nobody said, why the hell did you take the time to update me on my home valuation, give me the most accurate value?
Right.
He said, I've had the most pleasant conversations. Every single homeowner said, thank you. Wow, thank you for taking the time to give me this detailed report, because they can get home valuations on Zillow, on Trulia, on any portal out there, but from a trusted source, which is their realtor, who took the time, pulled up comparables, and let them know that he made time out of his day to adjust that valuation. He had pleasant conversations, and guess what? A lot of them came back and said, oh, you know what? We were actually thinking about selling our home. Thank you. You just sent us email just in time. He said just in that first month, the guy picked up 7 listings just from his database, just by doing that one thing alone. He teaches that to his agents. His agents repeat the same thing over and over. And so you could sit there and complain about the whole valuations being off. It's you can bring a deer to a water and show him, hey, here's water, but you can't force him to drink it. We're a tool. We're not going to replace you. We're not looking to replace you. If you can't work the system, well, other people are being very, very successful using this tool. And so that's all it really is. It's a tool in your toolbox that you can use to leverage, to be more successful.
Yeah, what I love about what you guys are doing is you're taking the relationship and you're taking the technology and you're merging that into a process where you don't kick out the realtor, right? Anything that's like set it and forget it, you never have to worry about it again, and deals are just going to rain from the sky. Bullshit. Don't spend your money on that. Because, one of the things that makes me mad for the realtors is, if you think about this, it's crazy where the realtors, they create the product, right? They create the listings. Then they pay dues to their local real estate board to upload the information into the MLS. Then they pay dues to have their own IDX feed, and Zillow and Redfin and all these people, they just plop in, they pay for the IDX feed, and they steal all the data from the realtors. It's like the realtors are paying for their own demise. It's really a shame. And what you guys are doing is you're trying to harness that power back into the hands of the realtors, and then, via the loan officers, because we always get stuck paying for everything. So we pay for the partnership, and the realtor gets the benefit if they're willing to work it a little bit, right? And it blows my mind that this isn't just the industry standard, and I believe you are going to become the industry standard, which is why I'm an investor. So tell us a little bit, maybe you can give us the 5-minute run-up of like how long you've been around, what you've learned through starting a startup, and then why you're going to WeFunder to raise the next round of money from your users instead of, taking on some venture capital money or looking for some angel investor or something like that.
Yeah. So, Sean, you want to tackle this? You want me to tackle this?
I'll jump in real quick. Talking about, where we've been and to get to this point, I like to say it's the near-death experience every quarter or so. We could sit here all night talking about this, but there's, every corner, you think you're going down and it's all successful and roses, then all of a sudden you get punched in the gut. We went through COVID, and then, now there's a down market. The whole, funding market is completely different. People's portfolios are down. But one of the biggest things that we really wanted to do is when we found out about WeFunder. So I invested early in WeFunder, the platform, and Start Engine, and then I invested a couple different businesses inside of both those platforms. And I told Alex about us. I told Oleg about it. Everybody was excited about this new kind of funding. And we found out about this community round thing. What was the deal, Alex? We sent out an email to our user base.
Well, yeah. So let me take a step back here, because so we've been around for what since 2019, Sean?
2018 was leads, and then
and then we merged. So like a year and a half, we went full time into actually pushing the product and selling the product. And we had a skeleton crew. We had, one salesperson, and, the founders were working, part-time on this startup. And then also not taking a dime in salary. We were providing and working for ourselves in our real estate and mortgage business, right? So I think that's kind of important to know, like, we were grinding to build this company up. And we started with just me doing sales, support, onboarding, like all of that. And we eventually grew into the company we have today. And so through this process, we're finally at the point where we either go out and raise capital from venture, get some venture funds and really, scale. The challenge there is now you become, you have, and a lot of like private equities, a lot of times at that point now they're calling the shots. We still wanted to make sure that we had control, and then we would empower realtors and loan officers, because a lot of these big companies, that what they're trying to do is consolidate other tech companies, and they won't really give you that freedom to do what you want to do. We want to stand on the side of realtors and loan officers, support them, help them fight against big tech, and we've got some really interesting ways we can do that. And so one of the ideas we were kicking around is like, how do we create an ambassador program that would rally an army of believers who would promote this product for us? And so we sent out an email. We were just kind of gauging our audience. And one of our advisors told us, hey, look, ask your users if they'd be willing to invest. And so we did. We fired off an email asking them, hey, if you guys had a chance to invest early on into a company that you guys believe in, are using, would you be interested? And we were overwhelmed with the response we got. People were, submitting their pledges already. You guys believe in, are using. We've got hundreds of emails, that came into us. And so we said, okay, well, let's find a way to create this, a crowdfunding campaign. And that's when Sean brought up WeFunder. And now there's a way, Sean, maybe you can talk about that a little bit more, where you don't even have to be an accredited investor, where previously you'd have to, be at least like generate or earn about $1 million in income or have some assets. Now with as little as like $100, you can invest into a startup company. And so that's really the opportunity is primarily we do have limited amounts. So the round that we're raising, it's a limited amount. Primarily, we're gauging it on our user base, and we want to get our users to invest into the product that they're using today, both realtors and loan officers, so that their voice can be heard. Depending on how much they would invest, we would plug them into our monthly or quarterly investor calls where we talk about the product roadmap, listen to what they're saying so they can influence, the product, and we can build something together. And so that's really the opportunity. We want, primarily, we want to build an ambassador program where, you have like an army of people who believe in the product and are out there talking about that. And so the best way is to have them, come in, put their skin in the game, and now they're using it, they've invested in it, and there's a higher chance they're gonna promote the product for us. So
there's two things I heard in there that I don't want to gloss over this stuff because I know you guys talk about it all the time. But for a potential investor or somebody that's just evaluating from the outside looking in, the fact that nobody at the company yet, or none of the founders at the company yet, have taken a salary or taken any money off the table, to me speaks volume, because like, you guys are willing to spend all of your free time and some of your business time when you guys could be out selling real estate, writing more loans. Like, you're interested in growing the company because you believe in it so much, right? And I know you've brought on some now staff and some salaried employees who are doing onboarding and sales and things like that, which is great. But the fact that the founders haven't taken a penny off the table yet makes me excited in a tech company, because you're not just trying to raise, round A of money so you guys can take money off the table, which then will give you a higher valuation to do funding round B to take more money off the table. And you're like, well, then we don't really care if the company goes broke because we got our skin out of the game. Like, I love the fact that you guys have so much skin in the game. And that all comes from just being a moron and watching Shark Tank a lot. And then the fact that instead of going to like some venture capital company, which we all know wants to invest in tech, we all know that they love the real estate space because there's decent margins and there's a huge market share because everybody in America wants to own a house. You're like, no, man, we really want to go to our users and give them the opportunity for a potential exit or a potential dividend or whatever potential, no investment returns guaranteed, potential investment returns there are down the path. Because, I've given a lot of companies $200, $300, $500 a month. And I've promoted a lot of these companies because I believe in them. They think they do a great deal. And then, when they sell years later for 10 million or 100 million, or there was a company in the real estate and mortgage space that just sold for $1 billion. Did I see a penny of that? Of course not. It all went to the owners and the venture capital people. So the fact that you want your own user base to invest in this, like, I love it. I love it so much. And as somebody who's now an investor, and I obviously have a biased attitude towards this, like, I don't give up my money easily. And the things that you are saying and the stuff that I've verified behind the scenes with paperwork and whatnot, I love it. I'm a big fan, man. And I appreciate you guys doing that, to have your own skin in the game to build a company.
One thing, Scott, let me elaborate a little bit more, since we're talking about this investment opportunity. We're not just building a SaaS company where software as a service, where that's what we are today, where you have a loan officer or users willing to pay you to use your product every single month. But I think the really big opportunity, and why every realtor loan officer should really pay attention, all the big tech is moving into the space of post-close. There's a massive wave that's going to happen, and an opportunity that's presenting itself now and will become really big, and that is the home service market. The home service market today, this encompasses everything from solar, home renovation, home repairs, insurance, all, everything that's tied to a home. Today, it's actually the stats 2 years ago were $600 or $700 billion was spent each year. And that's growing at a 35% compound annual growth rate. It's going to, by 2026, so within the next, 4 years or so, three years, it's going to be $1.2 trillion. So there's no wonder you have all the big tech moving into that space, because they realize, well, hold on a second. If the home service market is $1.2 trillion per year, then we could monetize off of that. What if we could connect homeowners with home service providers, right? And so that's really the big opportunity here. And so not only today we're offering tools that empower real estate agents and loan officers to stay competitive, to educate their homeowners, to educate their clients. But now also they'll become as advisors on ways to truly build that wealth. And if you can help homeowners in just various different ways by connecting them with the right people, showing them like you're going to solidify that relationship for life. And that's really what we're trying to create is we want to help loan officers and real estate agents build those relationships for life. So imagine you have a home, like roof don't last forever. And so 25, 30 years, and then now that roof needs to be replaced. Well, we have data and we know exactly which homeowner in the US qualifies to have that roof repaired. We know that they haven't pulled permits from the county, right? So we have all this data we can aggregate. And so instead of flooding each individual report, we can tailor that report specifically to a homeowner who needs, an AC unit, who needs a new roof. And so like we want to be able to get that in front of the homeowner before that problem even happens. We want to let them know what the cost could be if that problem happens. Like, hey, maybe you want to avoid this. Here's what that looks like. Here's a few approved, highly rated contractors in your area. Would you like us to connect? And so now realtors and loan officers, they'll become as advisors in a way, right? Helping educate, solidify those relationships. And who knows? I mean, we've been kicking down different ideas down the road. So this is not set in stone, but we were thinking maybe there's a way for us to, give an opportunity for realtors and loan officers to take a small rip of that. So when we earn from home service providers, maybe we'll share some of that with our users, right? So that's something that's not in place right now, but we're kicking different ideas around. And I think what's really important, that the message I'm trying to drive here, is the fact that we want to stand behind agents, behind loan officers. We want to empower them with the same tools and the same tech that these big companies out there have. They're eating your lunch already. Right. So if you're not doing anything today, like maybe you won't have it tomorrow. And so with myhomeIQ, you at least we can help you solve the problem today that you're having. We can help you with lead generation. We can help you with post-close, nurturing your past clients, building those realtor relationships. Maybe that's something you can talk about a bit more, but like that's a big component of our product. But also there's a future part of that. One, just as an investor, you could actually, we know that the home service market is massive. Like we're not just a software as a service company. That's a massive market we're tapping into here. And so one, just from that investment standpoint, it makes sense. And if we make it available, like if we choose to go down that path where we do profit sharing with our users who brought us the homeowners, and then we, sell a solar system to a homeowner and we get paid $1,000, for example, maybe an agent or a loan officer can get a piece of that, right? So that could be a massive opportunity. Nobody's really talking about that, right? So now you're incentivized to really, grow, use the product, and then eventually be able to monetize post-close like all the other big tech is trying to do. So anyways, just like, throwing different ideas out there.
Well, along those lines, if loan officers aren't scared, let me give them a news story that kind of flew under the radar that I think should scare loan officers about why you need to be partnering with a company like myhomeIQ to do the post-closing follow-up and become the trusted advisor so that you're a client for life. Truebill, which is a great app that I've used in the past, where it's like you put in all your information, it evaluates your bank statements and your credit cards, and it tells you like where you're paying subscriptions that maybe you had forgot about. Truebill got acquired by Quicken Mortgage for $1.3 billion last December. Like Quicken, Rocket Mortgage, they just stroked a check for $1.3 billion in cash, not stock options, not future payouts. They paid a $1.3 billion in cash to buy Truebill because they figured out, hey, the best way into the back door of a consumer's mindset for finance is by helping them create budgets and helping them eliminate additional spending that they forgot they were spending money on, right? So this is how Rocket Mortgage is weaseling their way into the consumer's, homepage on their phone for their app to help them do better with finance. And if I'm a client or if I'm a loan officer who closed a client 5 years ago and I don't do a good job staying in front of them with like a monthly report like what HomeIQ allows, when they're ready to do a mortgage, they ain't coming back to Scott Groves. They're going to Rocket Mortgage because they're getting advertised all the time through that app, which is constantly evaluating their finances and helping them save money. And now Rocket Mortgage has become more valuable to that client because they're giving them ongoing financial advice. And one of the things we talked about when I was, planning to make an investment is I'm like, hey, is it part of your corporate strategy to sell out to Rocket Mortgage? And you're like, absolutely not. We're in this for the independent realtor and the independent loan officer to create, basically a market segment where you can retain your clients. We don't want to be acquired by Zillow or Rocket Mortgage. That's not what we're building this for. We have the consumer, meaning the consumer of your product, the loan officer and the realtor in mind, and we want to empower those individuals versus like we're just building a product that we can sell to Rocket Mortgage, which was really important to me before I gave you my money because I don't want to invest in something that's then going to sell all my clients' data to Rocket Mortgage.
Well, see, and Rocket, they're super smart. Oh, sorry, Alex, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, great company. They have it figured out. They just actually launched Rocket Solar. So they're trying to tap into every single solitary piece of the stack that they possibly can. And one of the things when I started getting into WeFunder and invested in that and looking at companies that were coming up, obviously prop tech and fintech, companies that are in our space was a little bit more attractive to me because that's my business. I noticed a theme from a lot of these different companies that are launching in the space. And they're trying to replace the agent and the loan officer by some piece of tech. They want them out. They've been wanting them out because it's such a big pie. The commissions are just one piece. They want them out. So when we connected the dots between the crowdfunding type of campaign and allowing our users, our raving fans, our friends and family to actually get in this, and it's kind of democratizing the whole venture capital. We don't have to go down that route down to Sand Hill Road. It was just like, we have to do this. Like we could go VC, but we have to do this. We want them to have a voice. We want them to use our product to tell us, hey, if we have this, we're going to win. If we have this, then we're going to win. And then we can go program it and then give it to them.
Right.
So
because most VC monies, they want all their cash back in 5 to 10 years. So they want you to grow your user base and they want you to sell to Rocket Mortgage, right? Because the VC, obviously, they want their freaking money back. I mean, it's a no-brainer for them to build and then sell a small company to a bigger company who sells to a bigger company who sells to, Rocket Mortgage or Bank of America or Wells Fargo or something like that. So it's like the fact that that's not your plan is one of the things I love about the company.
And I think, one thing I want to highlight, we can't talk terms on this podcast, but I would encourage you guys to go to wefunder.com/myhomeIQ and just take a look at the valuation of the company today, right? That should shock you. If you're looking at these acquisitions that are happening in the space at $1 billion, right? Look at the opportunity that myhomeIQ presents today, right? And what that growth could look like. And so anyways, I just wanted to kind of, point that out because we made that link live today. It's gofundme.com/wefunder.
Got it.
No, wefunder.com/myhomeIQ. But real quick, just to interject, you won't see any financial data on there right now because this is one of the SEC regulations. We're currently testing the waters. This is another one of the things of crowdfunding that's absolutely amazing and changed the game. Typically, if you wanted to go do this as a startup, you'd spend, tens of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees trying to get all this stuff in all these forms. This regulation CF crowdfunding allows companies like us to actually test the waters where we can actually send out these pages, let users see what's going on with the company, saying, yes, I'm in for 1,000 or 25,000 or whatever. And then we can decide, okay, let's finish this campaign and do the legal piece, do all the filings, and then close the round. So you will see financials, but you won't see valuations right now because this is just testing the waters. But you will see our growth, as Alex alluded to.
Yeah, and I would say, I'm speaking for myself, I've seen the internals of the company. I was willing to give you guys $25,000, which is scary to give up that money in the, end of 2022 as interest rates are rising, overall transactions are going down. Our mortgage business is off. I'm very transparent with my clients, my coaching clients, my realtors, business is off like 50%. So, a little scary to give up a $25,000 chunk of savings, but I believe that heavily in the product. And if anybody's in the space or if anybody is using your product and giving you a couple $100s a month to like service their clients, dude, even if you think it's a lotto ticket, even if you don't believe in myhomeIQ as a financial investment, but you trust them enough to employ them as a vendor for you, throw a couple $100 on there, man. It's like, it's a really cool lotto ticket.
Well, let me just say, it's funny you bring that up as a lotto ticket, because with all transparency, startup investing is so risky. 9 out of 10 will fail. So there's a chance that we're going to zero. I mean, I'm just straight up. 9 out of 10 will fail. My first investment.
Well, Sean, first of all,
Alex is like, don't tell people we're going to fail. All I got was this T-shirt. No, just kidding.
So it is a real fact, but that's from day one, right? Where most of the startups fail is when they have an idea. Then you have to build that idea. Then you have to take it to market, find product market fit.
Right.
And it took us a few iterations to figure out how we're going to sell the product. Like first we were trying to sell it, at one price point. So there's all of that requires, and then you get to a point where you have scalable growth, right? Predictable growth you have to get to. And so that right there process takes most of the companies out of the industry. Yeah. We're at a point where we've kind of surpassed a lot of that, and we're growing. We can't talk about too much financials on the podcast, but all that will be in the WeFunder. But yes, I think we're way past that point. There's a slight possibility if something crazy happens tomorrow and we lose all of our paying customers. I mean, anything could really happen, right? But we've been growing consistently month after month after month after month, and it's all been grassroots. We have no major campaigns. We have no big VC or private equity fund or anything really pushing us. This is our first time getting onto a podcast to discuss myhomeIQ. It's all been grassroots until now.
Yeah, and I know people need to visit the WeFunder page, which I just put on there, and I don't even think we can repeat publicly the stats that are on the WeFunder page because there's certain disclosures on there. But I will say, just anecdotally for me, and I'm not an. Oh, I guess I am an owner now that I'm an investor. Am I an investor or an owner? Investor, I guess. I will say a lot of those barriers to entry, meaning what's your year-over-year growth, right? What's your acquisition of clients? What's your cost of acquisitions? How many professionals do you actually have on your reoccurring revenue base? Go look at the WeFunder, because where myhomeIQ has gotten probably wipes out 7 of the 10 of those risky startups that are at day one, right? So now maybe we're talking 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3 as far as a risk of ruin, which I think is important to go to the WeFunder and check out any of this before anybody gives anybody any money. I'm just saying from my own personal experience and research, I'm very, very bullish on this investment. And it really just came about because we were talking. I was a user. I had a couple quality control ideas that I wanted to give back to you because you guys are obviously in growth stage. You're going to make some mistakes. And you're like, hey, man, you really seem to know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, I just pushed this out to 100 people. You're like, yeah, but a bunch of them signed up. We appreciate it. We're thinking about going live on WeFunder. Would you be interested in being an earlier investor? Not like a first round investor, but earlier. So I'm pumped up. I love it. I find when we go more than, we're coming up on an hour, God forbid we go over an hour, everybody drops off. I appreciate the people that have been watching thus far. What are the last 1 or 2 things we need to know about myhomeIQ, whether it's your vision or why every realtor or lender needs to be on this platform?
Well, one, we're just getting started. We have a lot of work in development right now. That is everything from buyer leads, intelligence tools, lead generation tools. We've been around the block. We've spent over $1 million personally, professionally ourselves to generate leads. We've generated thousands and tens of thousands of leads. So we know what it takes to do so. And so right now it's just, we have a lot in development. Let's just put it that way. And a lot of that has to do with utility. We want to be able to really separate ourselves from any competitor out there and create defensibility. We want to be able to empower our users with technology. And so what you see right now with myhomeIQ is just the beginning. I think very soon you're going to start seeing a lot more new products spinning out from within myhomeIQ. So it'll be just an add-on. You're buying into something that's not going to be that's not finished. This is just part of what we're trying to, bring to the market. I don't want to talk too much about that, but our users are going to be pleasantly surprised when they start seeing quarter after quarter new features, or new ways that they can generate new business, stay competitive. And we're always looking at our competition, seeing what they're working on to see what we can incorporate into our product as well. So being able to partner with a company, number one, that's still in the industry, that's producing today, that understands what it takes to be competitive, not someone that's selling you something or a technique that worked 5-10 years ago. Like, we're on the front lines with you guys, generating business to pay our own bills, right? And so we're like, before we roll anything out to you, our users, we're testing it ourselves personally.
Yep.
And I think that's a heavy, like burden that we have to carry ourselves, because we'll go out there and spend a lot of time, energy, money building something, and then we test it, it doesn't work, it flops. Well, we're not rolling that out to you guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really something I want to leave you guys with, is we're far from finished. What you guys see myhomeIQ is just the beginning. We had time to get to where we are now, but we're finally at the point where we've built the back-end engine to be able to sustain the growth. We've figured out how, and part of that was taking the product to market, figuring out our product market fit, how we're going to scale this thing. So we're now at the point where we're about to scale, and a big part of that has to do with development, new features. And so, yeah, exciting times coming for myhomeIQ. I think this would be a good time to be a user, and two, definitely jump in while the opportunity is still available. We may oversubscribe. By the way, just so you know, Scott, we gauged our users, and we've asked them if they were to invest, how much would they invest, and we had this number. And so, like, the opportunity is really not that much. And so we kind of increased it just a little bit to allow other agents and lenders to be part of that. But a big part of that is really we want our users who already believe in us to become part of this and let their voice be heard. And so if you wait too long, that opportunity may not even be available for you anymore. So definitely check it out. We'd love for anyone who's a realtor, who's a loan officer, come and invest. Let your voice be heard. You'll be part of a group where you can give us your ideas, and that's how we grow. Like, we listen to Scott, giving us feedback. A lot of the stuff Scott already told us, we've implemented, we've incorporated that into, and we have some of the things that are still working on right now. And we love that. I mean, that's what makes myhomeIQ so special, is that we're on the front lines with you. We hear you guys. We want to be here to support you.
Yeah, if I can just give one quick example, when the digest comes out and clients are clicking around and they're like, what if I pay off my home early? Can I get rid of mortgage insurance? I get an email that says, hey, Scott, somebody's clicking around and has a question about their home. What I told you guys immediately is like, hey, loan officers are so busy. If the contact information for that client, email and phone number, is not in that email that comes to me, I'm not going to log into myhomeIQ and go search out their information and then give them a call. It's got to be right there. And within 48 hours, you guys fix that problem. Because I just know realtors, I coach loan officers, they're not going to make their lead generation calls unless the information is right there. And you guys had that problem fixed in like 48 hours. So kudos to you. And I've seen your big, your cards and your workboard of like what's coming next. It's pretty exciting. A lot of stuff we can't talk about. But Sean, I'll give you the last word. Why does every loan officer and realtor need to be on this platform?
Well, I think that, number one, you need to be on something, right? If you're not staying in front of your clients with valuable insights and information, so when they're ready to talk to you, they remember you, then you're already losing. So I think, number one, you need to get on a system. We're not the only one out there. But what YouTube has done, for instance, we were talking before the podcast, you used to have 3 big media companies, and now you've got anybody and everybody can become a media company and be successful. What WeFunder's done to the whole venture capital space, to where you don't have to be a family office or super high net worth individual to invest in a young startup like ourselves. They've democratized it. So we want to do the same thing with our users, whether you use our product or not. I think once you use it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised on your return on investment. But to have a voice in the company and to help shape the future when all these other tech companies are trying to take your lunch, well, they already took it, right? But they're trying to steal your commissions and take the client and wipe you out. We're not. So to be part of that movement, I think with like the WeFunder and everything else, it's a perfect marriage.
That's awesome, man. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll make sure that this gets out to as many loan officers as possible. We'll release the podcast in about a week. We'll chop this up into some smaller bite-sized pieces for people that are thinking about being an investor. If you're thinking about it, obviously no guarantee of future returns. I'm just telling you what I was willing to put into this. Go to wefunder.com /myhomeIQ. We'll make sure we link to it here. We'll link to it in the show notes of the podcast. And I appreciate you guys being on, man, and I'm really excited about doing this journey together with you.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Scott,
thanks, man. Talk soon.